All right, welcome back to the Kiss Army Things podcast. My name is Jeb.
My name is Xander.
And today we are going to be giving our thoughts and an overall review on the latest Kiss release, which is such a good, sounding thing to hear nowadays when we don't get a lot of output from the band. So today we are reviewing the 2001 Tokyo Dome show that was released 2 days ago at the time of this recording. I'm going to talk about what we liked about it. Is there anything we didn't like about it? What more can we expect from this series that they're allegedly doing? They're going to be releasing these old live, recordings as a series. And so, how much were you anticipating this release? Were you anticipating it? What were your expectations or standards for that? Generally?
I felt like because the show already happened, because this is like something that happened 20 years ago, I felt like it was easier to keep your expectations in check because this has already happened, this tour's already happened, we know what happened and what was going down. Yeah. And so I felt like there wasn't really anything to kind of place anything like, oh, it needs to be this and it needs to be that. I felt like it was so much easier to just keep expectations in check because it was... It already happened, and was I anticipating it? Absolutely. Yeah. I did feel like it came out of nowhere. They said we're doing this, and it's going to be this, and I'm thinking there was no prompting. I had no idea that was even going to happen. So that to me was definitely exciting. You are correct. It is nice to have something new coming out.
Yes.
So I don't. I hope nobody would expect a bad review. I don't think there's going to be a bad review coming from us. Overall speaking, because I think that it was something that it's like, wow, this is cool that they're doing a whole series.
Yes.
Let's just get right into it. So it came out a couple days ago. At this time, we do not have any physical copies. Right, I did get an email saying that it was going to be delayed because of whatever's going on, which it is what it is. Yeah. Hopefully, I'm assuming by the time this episode airs, everybody will have their physical copies with them.
And on the next episode, for the people who view the podcast instead of just listening to it, I'd like to do some kind of an unboxing review for the physical copy. I think people would really be interested in that. That's what I'm looking forward to. It's unfortunate. Yeah, I feel like if you pre-order it, you should be able to get it sooner, but that's just not how it works with anything. Not with Kiss or otherwise.
It used to be. When I got Paul, when Paul put out Face the Music, I pre-ordered that, and it arrived to my house on the day in April 2014 when it came out.
It could be a COVID thing.
So I feel like, it is, but also even before that, I've noticed that sometimes when you pre-order stuff, it doesn't.
It'll ship at the same point.
It either ships at the same point or after, and it's like...
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see where it's a COVID thing. So let's get right into it. I do actually agree with you that I do want to do some kind of unboxing here where we look at it and take a look at the physical copies because so far...
Which one did you buy, by the way?
I bought a CD from Target.com.
Okay.
I had that ordered way back before we knew anything. As soon as it came up on the website, before they even released the 30-second trailer, I was like, I don't even care what it is, I'm just going to go ahead and get it. Yeah. So I did get one pre-ordered from Target.com already, but when it was officially announced from Kiss Online, I went ahead and got the 3LP limited edition
colored vinyl.
Clear vinyl with bone swirl, and then I also went ahead and got another CD release.
I didn't know you bought more than one copy.
And I'm gonna have
perfect.
I'm gonna give.
I can review the whole set at that point.
I'm gonna let you have one. Well, the thing is because I think I mentioned this in the first episode, because in the first episode we talked about this.
Yeah, briefly.
Along with the A&E. And the Netflix upcoming releases, so we did all that in one. So one's actually out now, so that's kind of what we're doing here. We're talking about it. Mm-hmm. But I mentioned how the limited edition was the same price as the regular vinyl, and so I thought, well, if the limited edition is the same price, I'm just going to go ahead and get that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I felt like whatever. So we'll definitely take a look at that probably next time, hopefully, since that'll be out by then. Mm-hmm. So, but in the meantime, we had Spotify at least, I guess, to listen to it, which I'm the first person to advocate for physical music. But the fact that there's a streaming service to listen to it now is great. You can take it with you everywhere we go. Yeah. I was listening to it when I was mowing. Front yard, backyard, I listen to it in here.
It's a long album, so it fills up the time.
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun listening to it. So when you listened to it, what was your first reaction? If you had to say something.
Before I get to my first reaction, there is something notable about my first reaction is that I was sort of, I was anticipating the record because it's new official Kiss music. It's not, it's already been available on YouTube, but to have, improved audio and to have an official release was nice. But once viewing the track listing, of course, there's a couple things that really stick out, mainly one.
Mm-hmm.
But, at first I was like, okay, you know what? It's already been documented in one way. I'm going to have to sit through Detroit Rock City, Deuce, Shout It Out Loud, all these songs that I've heard a million times over again. And I love those songs.
Yeah.
But what I was really, hoping to notice was the change in the lineup, because that obviously is the big sort of thing about the album. So I didn't want to, because Eric was brought back into the band, so he's fresh for a second time in the band. So I hadn't checked out a lot of the stuff from that era, or that lineup anyway. So I didn't know how that was gonna sound. So that's what I was really looking forward to.
Focus on the lineup at that time,
Just
Eric and Ace.
Yeah, I'll say that dynamic, which I do want to touch on later, is those two specifically and how they, play together and with Gene and Paul. But
they play very well together.
Yeah, so I'll say I do want to go in depth with that. But so my initial reaction is strange because I didn't really think about it or expect it, but there was a strange sense of nostalgia.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And I had a feeling that you would feel similarly.
The farewell tour. The
yes.
fact that was when. Yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned it in a past episode, but if we haven't, we had a VHS tape recording of the show from 2000 from East Rutherford, New Jersey.
The Last Kiss pay-per-view.
Yeah, so it is called One Last Kiss. And so we grew up watching that along with Extreme Close-Up. We watched those religiously. It was insane. So this album, taking place, of course, 1 year following that, had roughly the same sound. The drums sounded different, obviously, because the drummer, but Paul's vocals was in the same register. It was that era, and it had that sound. So I listening to it, by the time I got to Shout It Out Loud, I was thinking, oh my gosh, that's what it, there's something about it that I'm really liking.
Yeah.
But I can't put my finger on it, and I realized it's like, oh, this is really sort of a blast from the past in a really good way, because I enjoyed the sound. So
yeah,
that was my first impression. Was wow.
Yeah, the show from the Tokyo Dome is definitely a blast from the past for me as well.
Yeah.
I did get that as well, particularly in Paul's banter. With him talking about never forget us, this is the farewell tour. I have vivid memories of watching that and being like, no, don't leave us. Say. And so because at that time we had no idea what was to be. We thought that was it, and that was over. So it does take me back to that a little bit. And I liked how, speaking about Paul's banter, they kept a lot of that in there.
Yeah, they did. There was new banter that I hadn't heard before, which is cool.
Exactly. And so I feel like that, to me, made it feel more live, more like a concert. Because sometimes on a live release, they cut that stuff out.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the song, it just the song ends, and then you hear the crowd noises until the song starts, which is fine because you're cutting down for time. But when it's a band like Kiss live, Paul's banter, whether it's cheesy, whether it's moving you, whatever it is, it's important to the Kiss show.
Yes.
And his vocals, his banter, what he was saying, all of it was great. It always puts a smile on my face.
I laughed at a couple parts. One part
specifically. What's that? Which one did you laugh at?
Well, Heaven's on Fire. I don't know if you remember, but right before, I don't remember if he prefaced it for something, but he said, this is the sound of the animal. And then,
woo!
I was like, he does that.
Like Ric Flair or whatever.
I think I may have laughed out loud just a little bit, but it put like you said, it put a smile on my face because I felt like he had to talk a little slower because he's in Japan and he wants to get things communicated across. But I just found myself kind of smiling and kind of laughing at that. But that
it must have been a thing about Animalized because the album was Animalized that it came off of.
Yeah,
so maybe he was
making a connection.
Trying to do some Animalized thing, but that was something that I never heard before.
Yeah, and I going back to what you said, a big appeal to this is that it's not like you could compare it to the Millennium Show. It's not like a Kiss Alive or a Live 3. It is very much in almost like a bootleg style because there are parts in there where I feel like they could have edited out or cut out, or maybe
they could have.
Not that they should have, because I'm glad that it's in this raw format. It is a very raw Kiss show. They didn't do anything to really go over the top with it, and there were parts where I was like, oh, that's a little. Paul's vocals in the start of the show sound really low in the mix.
Yes,
to me,
Rock
that
City. The
Rock
opening,
City.
I was like, oh no.
Yes, but which is fun because I like that because
it does give that live
that's
feel.
how it was live because it's the first song. They still need to adjust that.
Sure.
So I'm glad that they kept stuff like that. And Ace's lead guitar playing, I felt like at times was really low in the mix. But I like that because it's different. It's
like
unique to that show. They didn't go back and do what they probably did with the Millennium Show, which is go back and make sure all the levels are even, make sure the vocals are on par. This was a raw Kiss show, and isn't the aesthetic supposed to be kind of like a bootleg? Like isn't that like with the artwork? It looks like sort of like a it's got the cardboard element, and
kind of.
I didn't look too deep into that.
I actually want to come back to the artwork at a later point in the episode. I wanted to mention something real quick because we're talking about the production, the way it sounds, how much editing went into it. Yeah. So here is something that I don't know how many fans picked up on, or if you picked up on. But when it first started out, you wanted the best, you got the best, the hottest band in the world, Kiss. I noticed that there was so much gusto that went into that I was like, I don't remember that from the farewell tour. So I went back and watched that March 13th 01 show, the footage of this show off the Soundboard from Japan. Yeah. That's on YouTube.
Did they?
And compared it to what we heard on off the Soundboard
on the album.
And it's not the same.
It's not the same. So they.
So whoever
I would have never noticed
whoever
that.
is saying you wanted the best, you got the best.
It was post.
It is not the same. Guess where it's from? I found it. I went and looked. I said,
stupid.
It's got to be from somewhere. Where'd it come from? It came from Tokyo 2019 on the End of the Road tour.
Are you kidding me?
It is the exact same.
You better be for sure about that because someone's going to go back and compare it.
Please do. Because I know for 100% fact that it is not. I compared the You Wanted the Best intro from Off the Soundboard to the 01 show on YouTube. They are completely different. The one that you heard on Off the Soundboard is the most emphatic, intense, You Wanted the Best I've ever heard. The one on the farewell tour was the one that you would normally hear.
So I've already been duped into, they've already. Well, how do you? Does that affect?
That does not.
I was going to say
the same because everything in my mind always, and I hate this, and sometimes it works where I have to compare something, like compare it or stack up to something else, and this does not upset me because when I think about what happened on You Wanted the Best with Room Service. They said, here's a live recording of Room Service from 1975, and you pop it in, and you hear vocals from 96, Paul Stanley, over a 1975 track.
Clear as
day.
They weren't fooling anyone.
They were not fooling anyone, and they were, for a fact, they were in the studio or whatever.
And they said, no one's
and they're thinking, you know what, we could do this. And everyone's going, Paul, I'm sorry, but you did not sound like that in 96, or in 75. That is you in 96, 97, when this is being put out. That is... very obvious, and I feel duped. That I felt very duped.
But you wonder...
This one not as much, even though it's kind of the same thing, but no, not as much.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, it doesn't really take away that much from my experience, but it does take away a little bit because
makes you wonder now.
I wanted, because I would, even if it sucked, even if even if when the guy did it...
My show intro wasn't there, and they had to kind of put something in. But so, I mean...
Yeah, but they had the audio, so even if that intro sucked, I would have maybe, unless it was really egregious. I would have rather have had the original.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's just fun.
I mean, it's not the music.
The one you hear off the soundboard is again. You go
it's
back.
Perfect.
Now that you know that the intros are different, go back and listen to "You Wanted the Best" from the original show and this show, and there is a huge difference.
How did you figure that out?
Because when I heard it the first time, I didn't know and didn't care because it sounded like a Kiss show.
Yes.
So the second time I listened to it, I really focused on it because I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't mowing. I wasn't on my phone. I was just sitting in this room, kind of listening and thinking. And when I went back and heard it, I was picturing in my head, just what that would look like, the show and everything. Yeah. And when I heard that, I was like, this dude is blowing his voice, blowing his lungs.
It sounded great, though.
He was like, you wanted... I mean, you can see his red face in my head. And I was like, man, he's really going at it. And so when I went back for this podcast to watch a little bit of that footage from the show on YouTube, I noticed that it was a lot weaker sounding on the original recording.
It's the same guy? What's his name?
It's not I don't think it's the same guy, and if it is, he's definitely putting more emphasis nowadays. At one point, it was a guy named Spike. I don't know if it's Spike anymore. The information is out there, so if you know who is responsible for doing the intro to the Kiss show, let us know in the comments. That guy deserves some respect because he put he put it in, man.
I watched an episode of Three Sides, and they know all that stuff, and so they know the guy. So they mentioned his name. I just can't remember it. So that's my bad.
and we know a good amount, but at some point it was a guy named Spike. I don't know if it's the same way
Could
nowadays.
Have been one, yeah.
But so the first thing I noticed going back and reviewing it after my initial listen was that the intro was changed. Now beyond that, it doesn't really seem like much else because, like you said, there's so much that they could have cut out. They could have raised the mix.
Well, the first
they could have done this.
Guitar, Paul had a bad voice break. He had voice crack.
Did he really?
Oh, go back and listen.
For sure,
it's when he says it's 12 o'clock, and then he does the big
vocal.
vocal.
No, that's my favorite part.
It is the best part of the song, and he kills it on the 2000 East Rutherford show in New Jersey.
I can't even with that show right now.
I hope this isn't coming across as negative because we are nitpicking. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get into the positive stuff.
At the end of the day, though, it's fine because none of this is actually affecting it.
I was going to say it doesn't take away from my experience. I mean, of course, I would rather if him nailed that note, but again, it's a unique occurrence. I would have rather have them left it in. Because I want the raw show.
Definitely.
And so they could have easily have removed the bad vocal break. So I mean, if you want, we can get into the set list, the songs, anything specifics. I mean,
so I actually do here. I have the I have a couple set lists pulled up. I have the set list, of course, from off the Soundboard from the farewell tour, and I also have a set list pulled up from Lubbock, Texas, March 10th in 2020. That was the last show in the U.S. before COVID shut everything down. So comparing the two,
except for that festival that they just did, people are going to point out they just did the A&E thing. So technically,
they did play about 5 or 6 songs at the A&E screening of the part 1.
Right, but this was the last full Kiss show.
So the last full Kiss show on the End of the Road tour. Took place March 10th, 2020. And so when I compared the two, the set list, because I was looking at them thinking, what is new, what's the same, or what's different, what's changed. 17 of the 21 songs are the exact same.
They're identical.
They're identical.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. But I also have to mention, and should I go through all those songs, or does anybody actually care? Get all the ones that are the same, or does it matter?
You can list the ones that aren't the same. That would be
okay, the ones that are not the same, of course, Talk to Me.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Talk to Me is the one that is the most obvious.
Yes.
Which, obviously, to me, that's more of an A song anyway. Like, when I think, for instance, Shock Me, I think Spaceman.
Absolutely.
Whereas, Talk to Me is purely Ace.
Interesting.
I don't.
You would think that Shock Me would be the Ace song because that's his.
Well, because it's more of a character song. Kind of like God of Thunder.
Right.
Paul wrote God of Thunder, but that song is bigger than Paul. It's a demon song.
Like
Ace wrote Talk to Me, or I'm sorry, Ace wrote Shock Me.
Yeah.
But Tommy can sing it, and it works because it's a Spaceman song. I wouldn't want to see Talk to Me sung by Tommy.
I would.
Not that I don't think Tommy can do it, but it's just because when I think Talk to Me, I think strictly Ace.
There's a lot of Ace's personality,
and I don't feel it. Same with Hard Times. I don't hear a Spaceman. I hear Ace's life. So those are some of those things.
That makes sense.
But
to me.
So you have Talk to Me on one hand that was played on the original farewell tour. It is not played on this tour.
Well, not on the farewell tour, but just a specific show. The Tokyo show, yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, on the flip side, on today's End of the Road tour, you have the song Say Yeah, which was not even written at the time.
Which is cool. I like that they played.
So there's one song. So you have Talk to Me, you have Say Yeah. You've got Let Me Go Rock and Roll was played on the Tokyo show. It was played on this tour, just not at this particular show.
Right, so
we
it's
saw
on
it
the
live.
tour, yeah.
So that's one that could actually be on this list. You have Tears Are Falling, which is an 80s song that the original lineup was not playing on the show, on the farewell tour. They are on this tour. At least they started playing Tears Are Falling somewhere towards the middle of the tour. It wasn't played in the beginning, I don't think. Yeah. Heaven's on Fire is a song that, besides 2013, hadn't been played since the original farewell tour. Which is great that they brought that back. Even though both of those songs are on both set lists, it's nice to see that one back because we've never seen, out of all the shows we've seen over the years, we've never seen Heaven's on Fire outside of this tour.
Exactly.
And it's because, other than the Monster tour, they really didn't play it. So that to me is really cool.
Same with one or two others from this.
You have Parasite, which is a song that wasn't played on the original farewell tour. I Still Love You was played.
Oh my gosh, yes.
On the farewell tour, which I kind of forgot about because it sounds kind of random, but they did play or at least Paul did by himself. I Still Love You.
Yes.
Paul's not doing that on this tour.
No.
But so we can look at these set lists and compare them, but we got to keep in mind that the set list from this End of the Road tour is changing a lot. This set list, doesn't have Crazy Nights. We saw a show less than a month prior to this, and they were playing Crazy Nights.
Yeah.
So that's a song that's not on this set list, but it was on the End of the Road set list.
Right.
Let Me Go Rock and Roll was played on this End of the Road tour, but it's
phenomenal.
not on this playlist.
Yeah.
So there are things that are changing progressively as we go.
Which is great.
Parasite was a song that they hadn't played.
Oh, yes.
The first 3 shows we saw on the End of the Road tour.
Yeah.
They hadn't played Parasite. Also, we show up and they're playing Parasite, and it's like...
So glad that we showed up on that, because we thought about not going, as we mentioned in the last play.
Yeah.
That was obviously
fun.
Amazing.
That was great. So the set list, I mean, obviously, the both of them open with Rock City, and then the second one in 01 was Deuce, and number 3, Shout Out Loud, and then over here on the End of the Road tour, it's the same thing but flip-flop. So, I mean, it's going to be the exact same but different.
Do you think for most Kiss fans...
Oh, War Machine. I didn't mention War Machine.
Oh, yeah.
They're playing War Machine now, not then, so I guess that's...
Absolutely.
There are a few differences in the set list. I noticed that the drum solo in the American leg, the drum solo was in 100,000 Years, and then in 2001 it got moved to God of Thunder.
Okay, that is weird.
So even back then there were a few things in the show changing.
So got the bass solo and then God of Thunder, which I mean Gene does the bass solo all the time.
And then drum solo.
And then the drum solo. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Now notice this: the guitar solo was played after Shock Me.
Yes.
On this tour, it's being played after Cold Gin because there is no Shock Me.
Right.
Tommy's not singing a lead vocal.
And I wish he was.
I was going to say, how do you feel about that? Because Ace had 2 lead vocals, and Tommy usually at least gets the 1. Now he has 0.
Obviously, I and plenty of other Kiss fans would like Tommy to sing the Shock Me, or I would love him to I would rather them take Say Yeah out and put When Lightning Strikes in if they're gonna do one from Sonic Boom, because that song is awesome.
That's a hot take.
No, it shouldn't be, because that song is badass.
No.
And I think it's better than Say Yeah. But okay.
Wow.
But
okay.
I coming from Gene and Paul, and just it sort of makes sense. You can look at it from a couple different ways.
Oh, totally.
Looking at it from Gene and Paul, they think, well, they don't want to divide anyone, and they think, well, that's Ace's song. This is the farewell tour. That's disrespectful. They might not want.
Eric singing Beth.
Yeah, but they have to do Beth. Beth was a huge song. That's like, well, it's a caveat because this is the last tour, and they're having a lot of, we'll call them normies. Most people who go to those Kiss shows aren't diehard Kiss fans like us.
Yeah, they're not going to 4 shows a tour.
They're, maybe, I've done this at bands I weren't too familiar with, but I liked enough, where, a few months before the show, you buy Greatest Hits album if you don't already have one. You'll buy their most popular one.
Okay.
People are going to buy Destroyer at Walmart.
Yeah.
And they're going to listen to Beth, and they know that's on the radio. That's a song that it's been around forever. It's one of Kiss's biggest songs. They have to play Beth on the last tour. I would argue that. So
for sure.
Yes, I mean, and most of the people.
Sing a song.
I would, you know what? And looking at it from the other side, he should sing a song.
Yes,
because you need all 4 Kiss members on the last tour to sing a song. And I think it should be, I don't think it should be either Shock Me or anything. I think Shock Me would be amazing as a tribute to the Spaceman. Like I said, it is a Spaceman song. That song is amazing. It works really well live. It's not like it underperforms. Now, coming from Gene and Paul's standpoint, maybe they're trying to fit in more 80s songs, which I also respect.
I'm going to point that out.
Yes, which is fine.
The flip side seems to be that they're putting in a lot more, because you have Tears Are Falling, Heaven's on Fire. At one point you have Crazy Nights. Of course you have songs like I Love It Loud and Lick It Up.
Yeah.
But so the 80s are being
But take out,
a lot on this tour.
I would say take out See If It Were Me. Every Kiss fan has their own opinion. But I'd say, keep an 80s song in. Take out Do You Love Me. No one needs to hear that.
Well, they took out Do You Love Me for Crazy Nights, and then took out Crazy Nights for Do You Love Me.
That's what I'm saying.
So
I was going to say, we're looking at, at this specific, so you're right, they did do that. But they could do another song. What's another song? I don't care to hear, this is me personally, I don't care to hear, I got to hear Dr. Love. See, to me,
I think it's...
I love it. And Gene loves it. And I can tell Gene loves it. And I love watching Gene love playing that song. So to me, the song I don't care to hear live, other than Do You Love Me, which is my number one, just that doesn't need to be in the song, is Shout It Out Loud.
Gosh dang it, I knew you were going to say
and
that.
I know
but
why they play it.
They have to.
Exactly. It's on Destroyer, the most iconic record. People know that song. It's a great anthem song. To me, that song is not one of my favorite Kiss songs.
Some folks say I Love It Loud needs to come out.
I wouldn't be mad because they have War Machine in there, but it's such a crowd pleaser
the I
to
Love
me.
It Loud, it's those chanting ones that you have to have.
Yeah, it's
the
anthemic.
ones where you're yeah, or it's like, Heaven's on Fire, or it's the breakdown, or they even added a breakdown section in Crazy Nights. These are crazy, where it's just the drum, snare, and the vocals.
I
I Love It Loud is one of those songs where they need that in a set list.
Right. I wouldn't say it's necessary because that's what Say Yeah can be for. Something like that where
Yeah, Shout Out Loud.
Say they have plenty of songs like that.
They're all chanting. But yeah, you're right. We could go back and create our own whole set list.
Yeah, we're getting off topic.
As far as let's go back to.
I want to talk about
the soundboard a little bit. Go
ahead. I was gonna say so. I mean, I don't really, unless you have any specifics. I don't think we really need to go over Detroit Rock City. It sounds, it sounds great. Other than Paul's one vocal mishap, that's not even a factor. Also, Paul's vocals, we didn't even mention that. There are certain points in Kiss's career where you could say Paul was at its peak. This is one of those moments where you might say, coming off of
I've always wondered how much that influenced his singing.
Right. So, I mean, you could say maybe the late 80s, early 90s was Paul's peak. You can maybe say the late 90s was Paul's peak. This is right in there because he sounded phenomenal in the symphony, too.
He has to give it his all. It's the end.
Yeah, I was gonna say
they thought it was the end.
So you could say this is one of Paul's highest moments vocally. In that era, his vocals were fantastic.
When I think Paul's vocals, I think that one show in
New Jersey. Just godlike.
It's powerful, room filling.
Exactly. And so we're running through Detroit Rock City and Deuce, which have been the opening couple songs throughout their career.
Those are typical.
And Shout It Out Loud. But I want to talk about the first, notable song in the track list, the one that made me want to listen to this more than almost anything else, which was Talk to Me. That needs its own
section of the
discussion. So if you want me to start, I
want you to talk all about it. I want to hear your thoughts all about it.
Well, I was hesitant.
I have no thoughts, so I want to know
you don't have any specific thoughts on this?
I loved it. I thought it was great. It was unique, but I'm sensing a lot more deeper thoughts about it coming from you, so I want to hear everything you have to say about it. Let me hear it.
Well, I mean,
lay it out.
I'll just go. I was hesitant to, I wasn't hesitant to listen to it. I was eager to listen to it, but I had my reserved, expectations, kind of like we had about the whole show. This song specifically, have we ever heard this song live prior to this?
There was an official release when they were in Sydney, Australia.
Okay.
I think that was one of the only official live recordings with Eric Carr.
Okay.
It was a release of Talk to Me, very rare.
So I may
barely.
I was saying I may have, because I don't, since I don't remember that specifically, I can just count this as me because I'm not really deep into bootlegs. So this was my first listen of hearing, not only a deep cut, which you just don't know how those are going to perform live energy wise and how the crowd's going to reciprocate and how Ace is going to perform it. Mm-hmm. So I was I was hesitant at first, but listening to it, they did a really good job.
It sounded great.
They did a really good job. Ace held up his own.
Uh-huh.
He sang it well enough. It's so strange. Why I can't think of a reason why they would have put that song from that record in the set list. No, that really gets me.
There probably is a reason, and I don't know what it is.
Maybe that song was big in Japan back when it came out.
That's my only thing is
no idea.
I don't think it would. I don't think it did exceptionally well, but I don't know.
Maybe Ace demanded that. I was like, maybe that could. He said, I'm doing Shock Me. I don't want to just do my one song.
Yeah,
because
it wouldn't shock me if he maybe fought for that song.
Yeah. So I think I was worried about how that would translate live and the energy. The energy was great. I think Eric had a lot to do with that. He kept it upbeat.
Yeah.
It wasn't slow. It wasn't lagging behind. I thought the harmony vocals on the chorus was really well. So I was so pleasantly surprised to hear how good that version of that song is, and I loved it because that right there is going to make me. That's what's probably going to make me want to return to this album.
Yeah.
More than a lot of other things. I thought that was a really cool inclusion.
And that's kind of what we're looking for with these releases too. Is with these live releases that they're doing is that we want to see
what's the
stuff
wow factor
that we're not.
What are we getting?
The wow factor is a couple songs. I Still Love You, Talk to Me that you don't regularly hear live. You're hearing a version of the band that wasn't really around that much. So there's definitely a lot to get into here. Yeah. So let's. Were you finished with Talk to Me? You want to go about more about that?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you didn't have any other. I just thought it was a pleasantly surprise.
Very pleasant surprise.
Pleasant surprise. I thought it sounded great. Ace did great. I I would love to hear that live now. They will never do that unless I went to the cruise, maybe not even then. But it worked so well live. You know, it worked well enough that, you know, I could see them not putting them in the set list. But if they played it now, I think it would do well enough.
If I was to hear it in a Spaceman song, I would want to hear Out of This World.
Oh, well, I was like, to me, that's on par with, you know, When Lightning Strikes, and that's a great Spaceman song.
When I think Out of This World, it's on that level of, like, Shock Me or Into the Void, where, like, I know some folks don't like Into the Void, but
I love it.
That's me too.
Freaking awesome song.
Freaking awesome song. I did want to loop back around to the album cover because we actually missed that in episode 1. And you're a photographer. I'm a designer. You have design experience. I have photography experience. We didn't even talk about the design and the look. When you look at this album cover and see a white album cover with something just splotched on there crooked, do you think, oh yeah, that's simple, cool, or do you think, what lazy crap?
I'm somewhere in the middle, leaning toward. Well, I look at it and go, you should have just done more. And I think, you know, again, they might be going for the minimal bootleg style. If that's it, so be it. But I think they could have done something, you know, a cool band photo of them live, something from that show, maybe like something other than what it is. I look at it and I think it's maybe a missed opportunity for something, because it's Kiss. It's visually striking. That's what Kiss is. But again, I can justify it both ways why they would do it and why they wouldn't. Personally, I would have rather them, you know, put up a photo that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
You know, just something else to entice the Kiss fans that doesn't go beyond, you know, the diehards, which it is.
I'm hoping that when you open it up and start actually looking into it, I'm hoping that there's some...
Yeah,
I want some imagery, because the album cover, you can get away with, doing your sort of bootleg, you know, rough cut, here you go kind of thing, and it works, but you still need to deliver. I
think they could make up for it.
We don't have the copies to look at right here. But
I'll say, by the time anyone's listening to this, if you've bought it, then you already have it, so you'll know.
True, yeah.
Sort of that we are.
But know.
They could, you know, it could be made up by, you know, because I'm assuming, and I would be somewhat let down if there isn't, some kind of booklet with maybe some commentary, but, you know, a booklet with photos, or maybe there's some, like, you know, just images of, like, maybe a concert poster, or just anything. I wonder, because if not, I would kind of feel like how I did. And maybe you felt the same way when Monster came out on vinyl.
Yes.
They did absolutely nothing with the vinyl release of that.
And another, before this podcast on this channel, I mentioned that, where I was like, Monster had nothing in it. Yeah, I dumped out the record in the video.
When you think about Kiss, look at what they did in the 70s. They could have, like, especially now with their budget, and, you know, I have a feeling...
There was no inserts, no sleeve art.
Yeah, I would say, at the very least, they should have had... You know, the sleeve art that goes in, you know, that the record goes into. Just have a colored sleeve, anything, some kind of insert. It was the most bare bones, and I'm hoping that, you know. So, but this is more of like it's almost like a box set sort of thing.
It's like a 3 LP.
Yeah, it's a 3 LP set. So I am expecting. I'll say, for better or for worse, I'm expecting some kind of booklet with some kind of artwork and some kind of more than just the minimal artwork. Yeah. And so we'll have to address that once we get to the physical copy, but, you know, that's something to think about.
And you know what? I'm sure by the time this podcast is up, if we do have it, I'll probably post pictures of it.
Yeah.
So you may check out the page on, I mean, even, you should just like and follow us anyway, but on Facebook and Instagram. But so I agree. I want to see some. I want to get this and just open it up. I love getting with Soul Station. With Kiss Rocks Vegas especially.
Oh my gosh, they did so good with that.
That was amazing. Just sitting on the floor and opening this stuff up and just laying it out.
It's not just just the vinyl experience. It's a big part of the Kiss experience.
It's the Kiss experience.
It's like, we didn't get this, but, you know, well, we had our own version of it. But people in the 70s, when they opened up Alive 2 for the first time, they're getting the Kiss experience. When you look at the Destroyer album cover, Rock and Roll Over, when you see
Alive 2,
exactly it's a huge part. It's a huge part of what Kiss is.
All the inserts and posters and order forms, like, and the fact that they're not doing, because okay, let me just say that real quickly, because I bought a record from an electronic dance music duo. It was EDM, okay, and I bought a vinyl release.
Yeah,
it was colored vinyl. This is a regular release.
Yeah.
It was colored vinyl.
Nice.
It came with a CD.
Nice.
It was also colored. It was branded the same way. It came with a digital download for free. So,
wow.
So, and in a regular 25, you go out and buy a record, you're thinking $25, $30.
Yeah.
Around there.
I'd say 22 to 30, yeah.
You, depending on where you're at, I've seen records go for 50. I've seen them for 20. Usually it's 25, 30. Yeah. And this record I bought, which was it was Jack U with Skrillex and Diplo. It had a colored vinyl, a colored CD, a free digital download.
Yeah.
It was all packaged well, branded really well. It was a regular release. And then you mentioned Monster, where it's nothing. And how is it electronic dance music?
It was less of a budget.
Who's putting
Maybe.
an EDM duo is putting out a vinyl release that's outdoing Kiss.
Yeah. Well, I can see why, and it's really pessimistic.
Uh-huh.
But if you think about Gene and Paul's, or I can't remember if it was who was it, it's most associated with, but Gene or Paul, maybe both, about how they feel about releasing new music, and that them not being for it because they know people aren't going to, that they're not going to get the numbers they want to look at. So they may have just said, you know what, if we're going to release it on vinyl, just no one's going to buy it, or it's not it's not going to do the numbers anyway, so just put out the most bare bones record. Some people will buy it. I hope, again, that's a real pessimistic and negative way to look at it, but a part of me might think that, that they just didn't care enough about the modern day.
That they have said some of those things
So,
before.
And again, that could totally not be it. There might be 1,000 reasons why they didn't do, I don't know what justification they could have had for it, because it's Kiss.
Was so much.
But yes, that was phenomenal.
The thing about Monster that kind of makes it okay was the fact that they had so many different releases that there was the vinyl and the fanzine and the
album's great.
It was in my top 5. Check out last week's episode 3.
I was gonna say they had it where it counts in the music.
They had it where it counts.
But again, they're good. It's just going back to the Kiss experience.
But you're so used to Kiss going above and beyond, and with the vinyl Monster release, it was not over the top.
No, it was very underwhelming.
So I'm definitely looking forward to getting this off the Soundboard release.
And the colored vinyl is cool too. I thought that was
because the swirl.
Yes, just anything. I think that was most people do that. Most artists nowadays, like you said, they are just releasing all their albums on colored vinyl anyway, because a lot of people, younger people, are appealing, and I like it. I fall for it. I love colored vinyl. Black vinyl, a lot of people say sounds better, but it doesn't make a difference. I'm not an audiophile.
Yeah, I'm not an audiophile either. I want the music.
Yeah.
There's folks that talk about how, on this version of this Kiss album, the song ends early on this pressing, and I'm like, what? I don't know anything about any of that. Kiss fans are crazy when it comes to vinyl.
That and catalog numbers and all that, which is
catalog,
somewhat interesting.
I love it. I mean,
I know
nothing. I will never know nothing. I collect vinyl, but it's to listen to it.
Yeah.
I collect because, there's some people out there that is just wild to me. And I love listening to it, and I love watching, because it's one of those things where Kiss fans, man, we're crazy.
Some crazy. Kiss fans go really deep into some things, others, and so we can appreciate it at least.
Oh, yeah. I love the different kind of Kiss fans that are out there, because some fans don't collect merchandise. They
I don't.
Music. You used to, but you don't.
Huge dynamic. I don't feel bad about going off topic, because we can still go back to it. But
sure.
I was like, Xander collects and has collected for a long time. I used to collect Kiss stuff when I was younger, and so as I get older, I guess stuff I don't know. I just don't like to
downsize.
I don't keep a lot of stuff nowadays anyway. So it's not like I'm against collecting Kiss. It's just I just don't do that with
and you don't have
with anything. So I'm the kind of Kiss fan who's very different from you, and I'm glad we have that sort of dynamic. Something that separates us is you have that side of Kiss that you and a lot of other Kiss fans enjoy, where some of them, like me, just aren't that into it.
Yeah, when we grew up together, we started collecting at the same exact time.
Yes.
Kiss Christmases, birthdays, going to the mall. Anything.
People would.
Anything, we get hands on the mall sometimes, anywhere we could. But yeah, you're right. As we got older, I became more expansive, and you wanted to downsize.
Downsize, yes.
Nothing has changed our love for Kiss.
Oh, absolutely not. No, because they've always been my number one favorite band.
If Kiss burns down, I'm still a Kiss fan.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a rebuild.
It's not necessary. It's just something.
Yeah. But it's not about how much stuff you own or anything like that, and it's not about how much you know either.
Yeah, no.
You don't have to know everything about Kiss to have a podcast.
Yeah, or to listen to this pod.
Or to listen to this.
Obviously, I'll say, you know a lot more than I do. And I mean...
You think so? I think
generally,
I think we're yin
yeah.
and yang.
Yeah, fair enough. But we've read a lot of the books that everyone.
We soaked it all up as much as we can.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time we were 3 and 5, we knew all of history up until 92, 93.
Right.
And then of course we lived out the Psycho Circus era. So I mean, we do our part. We love that stuff. But yeah,
but none of that's necessary.
You don't have to know everything. You don't have to see.
You could own 2 albums and be a Kiss fan. You can own 1 album and be a Kiss fan.
We've seen 11 shows. There are people. There are fans that have seen hundreds and hundreds. There are fans that probably can't even keep count. And I love that because that means that they've got
that's
stories.
Their experience.
They've got stories to tell. We have stories to tell with our experiences.
That's a unique
experience.
That
is the cool thing about Kiss Podcast. And what you're getting here with this podcast is 2 fresh, I think, fresh opinions.
Yeah,
fresh takes on things that have probably already been talked about or things that with this release, all fans are talking about.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to just sit here and just gab and blab about Kiss.
It's the best.
In such an open format. So thank you guys for watching. I definitely want to.
We can get back into the Tokyo Dome. If you
do you want to talk about some more stuff from Tokyo Show?
So one other thing I wanted to mention that I referred to earlier is the dynamic between Eric Singer and Ace Frehley.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's a huge, a part of the appeal of why we are interested in it and why a lot of Kiss fans should be.
Yep.
And I think this is exemplified with Ace's, I guess, sense of unpredictability. Ace, he can play behind the beat. He can play in front of the beat. He can, add in a harmonic here. He has these little Aceisms that he throws in that Gene and Paul might not like because if you look at Tommy and you know exactly what Tommy's going to do.
Yeah.
Ace is a little more, unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that works really well with Eric Singer because Eric Singer is holding everything down at the most base level.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing in time all the time. That's what he's good at. Now, I'm not going to sit here and nitpick about Peter, but we all know that one of them is better than the other one in just about every sense. And I'm a Peter fan. I love Peter. I loved him on that show.
Peter Criss is amazing.
I was gonna say he's the only original Kiss member that we haven't met. Unfortunately,
I
would love to meet Peter Criss.
And I will, Peter. I'm
coming for you.
Peter, I'm there to see you. At some point, I want to meet Peter. But yeah, Eric was bringing some new stuff.
Well,
some new stuff, but he was bringing.
I think what works is that Ace is allowed to do all these little things because they have the backbone of the band going at all times. So if he can play behind the beat, Ace can, which is he kind of does with his guitar. He falls behind. He's got swagger. It's Ace. It's the way he plays. He's very laid back. It's loose rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have that with a drummer, who's doing that as well, and Gene and Paul are trying to play in time, and they're trying to get the drummer to play in time. That doesn't work, and we've seen that and heard that fall apart in the era before. And so, listening to this album, I thought to myself, this lineup is freaking awesome, and they could have done great things with this lineup if Ace if they would have just figured something out. And none of us were there. We can hear.
Ace didn't show up to that show. That was on him.
I was gonna say if Ace could have kept it together, if he could have just stuck it out, this lineup could have been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Listening
Eric
to
and Ace seem to get along too.
Yeah, I was like, it seems rather professional. Eric is just good all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So this show we have Eric's amazing drumming, sort of recovering from Peter Criss, who we love, and then we have Gene, who's perfectly consistent throughout all of history for the most part, and then we have Ace, which adds his own. No one sounds like Ace.
No.
His vibrato is different from Tommy's vibrato. No one can duplicate Ace. So I loved this lineup, and on I loved hearing "Shock Me." That's one of my favorite Kiss songs. I don't care who's singing it, but love that in the set list. His guitar solo was really unique. The first half of it was, you could watch all the footage from he's doing a lot of the same stuff. The second half was really strange. I don't know why. There's some stuff, and maybe I'm just.
I need to go focus on that again because I'm not a guitar guy, so I might go back and listen to that again.
Go back and listen to the guitar solo in the first half of it because it's kind of a long solo, which is great for me because I'm a guitar player. He's my favorite guitar player. I love hearing Ace play, whether he's, and it was rough. Ace's playing throughout the whole show is it was Ace.
Yeah.
Which is fine because I love Ace. He's my favorite guitar player. I know what to expect. He has these little. He might bend something completely out of tune, but it ends up sounding cool when Ace does it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, So I'm certainly not complaining about that. But the guitar solo, the second half was really strange. I don't know if he was improvising, that would be awesome to hear because that's not something that they usually do at all. He was doing some really weird stuff with chords and just I don't know. It was really strange. So go back and listen to the guitar solo because I've never heard him do that stuff.
Will do. I will do that.
And I thought that added a lot to the show. Just to me personally, as an Ace Frehley fan and a guitar fan. Mm-hmm. We can move on to the drum solo, which I was sort of wondering what they were going to do if it was going to be toned down just to not, kind of overdo it and draw too much attention to himself.
Eric's drumming, how he played, yeah.
And he kept it pretty simple throughout the whole show. He wasn't doing too many crazy fills. I mean, he was still doing Eric Singer drum fills.
Yeah.
But by the time he got to the drum solo, he did an Eric Singer drum solo to the nines.
Peter Criss, that's for sure.
No, see, that was another thing that I was worried about. I was like, oh man, he's they just put him back they just put him in the makeup. Gene and Paul might keep a leash on him and say, hey,
yeah,
I don't want to draw too much attention to that part of you.
You can't do that.
Yeah, but no, I mean, it was an Eric Singer drum solo. It was, it was definitely.
And as a drummer, I appreciate that because it would have been very easy for them to say, this is what you can and can't do. And Eric, being the professional guy that he is, would have said, okay, it's your band, it's your music.
Yeah, he'd comply.
I will do what you ask because I'm not on a pushover. Eric is on a pushover. Eric he's professional.
Yeah.
And he's loyal and he's able to, kind of change.
I look at him like a session musician. Maybe that's technically what it is. I mean, I don't know if he's done much session work. I bet he has. But to me, he's more of a session musician in the sense of he's a professional.
He's and he's always said that he approaches it like a blue collar. He's a very blue collar guy. Where this is my 9 to 5.
He's a worker's drummer. He's the working man's drummer.
And so I think that it would have been very easy for them to tell him what he can and can't do. But the thing that I appreciate was that even though he was wearing makeup that was previously worn and only worn by Peter Criss, that they were still able to allow him to use his double bass drumming.
Yeah,
that's something that separates Eric from Peter.
Definitely.
And even though it is the Catman, even though it is Kiss, it still is two different drummers. And they didn't, and they said Eric Singer on the drums and the microphone. They were not shying away from it.
Yeah. This is a great.
It would have been so easy to do that and to just kind of minimize all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I definitely thought that. I had a question for you. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you gave it too much thought, but you mentioned in the last episode when we were doing our top 5 favorite Kiss albums, you mentioned one of your favorite songs was 100,000 Years.
Oh, yeah, that's tied with Unholy as my favorite Kiss song.
And that song was on this album. Did you enjoy that version, or did you not even think about it because you were looking at it as a whole?
Mostly didn't think about it too much. I mean, I always love hearing that song live in any context, so it is a highlight in its own just for being what it is. But they played it not any better or any worse than they ever have. So I mean, I love that Kiss song. I love when they play it live. Again, Paul's vocals on that. He does some vocal solo stuff. He does some stuff with the crowd. So it was reminiscent of that show from 2000 in New Jersey. So it is definitely a highlight for me, as it is one of my favorite songs. But what really seals the deal is I Still Love You, which is a song, from a great album and a great era of the band, but it's one of those that are sort of random of like, why did they... It's a good segue into Black Diamond, but Black Diamond has already a similar vibe in the intro of Paul Stanley's solo. He's doing his guitar, he's singing, he's just solo. But I thought, because of how random and cool that is, I love that it was documented and put on this album as an official release, because we had that on One Last Kiss, that show.
A snippet.
Yeah, that's a good point. He didn't. I don't think he played the whole song. He played the whole 4 minutes.
It's a 4-minute track on this album.
Yes,
it was only like
which is
snippet,
awesome.
Which I'm assuming it was edited. It was edited for whatever.
True.
But this was a 4-minute and 21 second or whatever it was.
But it's its own unique thing.
Yeah. And I agree. It's one thing that sets it apart because Talk to Me, this song. Mm-hmm.
And it's from a great album, and it's a song that, again, it's not. That wasn't really a big song at the time. It wasn't a big album at the time, but they put it in, and it was. I love that it was just Paul in the crowd. It was intimate. It's a great song. Paul sings it really well. That was definitely a highlight as well. So to me, I think Talk to Me and I Still Love You apart from just hearing, I love hearing Ace do "Shock Me."
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing that song on the set, or those would be my main highlights from the entire show.
For sure. I haven't thought about my highlights, but as far as the Kiss set list, always, "Heaven's on Fire" is, I think, is a top 5 favorite song for me. I love the breakdown in the middle. A little bit louder, all that stuff is great.
And Ace plays it really well. It sounds really good with those, in that era of playing, because they played with Peter.
I thought Peter did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
too.
I was gonna say
the drums sound do a little bit, a little bit more luring, but I thought that it was still cool to hear Peter and Ace playing songs like "Lick It Up." I love it loud.
It's very
strange. I was like, "You go!" I was like, "That's it right there." They're representing all eras of Kiss.
Psycho Circus.
They represented all eras of Kiss on that farewell tour, and they're doing it the same thing on this farewell tour. It's just, of course, you have Say Yeah as another entry in the list. But as far as highlights go, I guess for me, it definitely would be "Heaven's on Fire." Psycho Circus, I think, always goes over well live. Whether it's this era, Alive 4, the current lineup. I always love Psycho Circus live.
Psycho Circus is phenomenal. Oh my gosh, I'm glad they brought that back.
Yeah.
I don't know what year they brought that back, but I never thought I would ever see that song
Psycho
live.
Circus, they played it for the first time in 2013 on the Monster
2013,
tour.
which we...
And it hasn't been played since, as far as I know, and what do I know, right?
Yeah.
But, ever since the Monster tour in 2013, it's been in the set list, and then before that, I think 2003 was the last time, because it was on Kiss Alive 4.
Yeah, the Millennium.
But it wasn't on Rock the Nation. We didn't see it on
Rock the Nation had a great set list.
We didn't see it on Hottest Show on Earth, and Rock the Nation was a great set list.
That
right there was how you knew that lineup, this current lineup, was going to be mean.
They were going to bring it Unholy, Making Love.
Tears Are Falling,
Making Love.
Tears Are Falling. Before 2014, when they played Tears Are Falling in, was it 2014? They played it on Kiss Rocks Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 10 years. It was 10 years. As far as I know. Yeah.
So, but overall, do you give it 2 thumbs up? For
what it is and what it was and what I knew it would be, it's a 2 thumbs up. I think some fans, would maybe wonder whether this is one that they're going to listen to once and never come back to, or come back to. I'm going to come back to this.
That's what I thought. I thought originally, okay, it's a cool lineup. I'll listen. I'll enjoy Talk to Me. I'll maybe listen to it twice to, listen to it once, get a feel for it, listen to it twice just to say I did. No, I think I will definitely revisit this, if not just for the nostalgia of listening to that era.
It's an official release from the farewell tour, which for us was very iconic, maybe for the wrong reasons, but it's still nostalgic in that, that was the first time we were hearing music live, seeing band, hearing Kiss. Watching Kiss.
Yeah.
So it does bring you back.
I think this could replace the Millennium Show for me, which I never really listened to that show much at all.
See, that's one that I don't go back
to. I would rather listen to this because it's got Eric Singer's drumming on it.
yeah.
So
and again,
it's less polished.
Peter, it was just the fact
that on the
Millennium Show, the one thing that I felt like brought it down was the percussion. I felt like
because we had Eric Singer, and if you use that as your reference point, you can only go down.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. That sounds
Singer,
really.
Well, no, Eric Singer is the drummer to end all drummers. Like
he's a world class rock and roll drummer.
When it comes to keeping time, being in time, his technique.
Oh my
Visually,
gosh.
he's an exciting drummer to watch.
He's got a good voice. No, Peter's got a great voice.
Peter has a great voice.
Peter's an underrated vocalist, as it is.
Peter's fills. I always feel like when I play drums, I'm always trying to
He's got his own feel.
I'm trying to hit that Peter, and I don't quite get it because I'm not him, but it's okay because I know what I want to hear and what I want to play. But yeah, Peter's fills, and it's funny because even though some folks want to kind of jab at him on the farewell tour, I thought that solo. On the last Kiss that he was doing was again you're hearing triggers. It sounds bigger than what it is, but when you watch the man play,
he's vibing.
It's like he's into it, and I love watching that.
He's very rhythm based. He's got his own rhythm.
Yeah,
I'm not a drummer.
When you watch Peter play, you can definitely feel what he's feeling.
Yeah,
and he definitely emotes in that way. And then of course Eric is somebody who just delivers at the top.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yes.
As far as off the soundboard goes, so I definitely give it 2 thumbs up. I'm waiting on my physical copy. I'm sure some folks are too, and will already have it by the time it comes out. I I'm curious to see what they're going to pull out next.
That's what I was going to talk about.
Because it's the first in a series. They've made that plainly clear.
Yeah.
It's a series. I don't know if it's going to be the Off the Soundboard series. It sounds like it's going to be.
Yeah.
We mentioned in the first episode wanting to hear stuff from Eric Carr because that was an era that I felt like when it came to live was underrepresented. You had the single Talk to Me in 1980.
Right.
And then they had a release of Heavens on Fire as a single, I think in 84, 86, right around there.
Sure.
That was the only live material we got officially released from the Eric Carr era, and that is a big bummer.
Right.
So I'm hoping that we get something from Eric Carr. I think if I had to point to a couple other things I would want to see from the series, besides early, I want to hear early Kiss.
Yeah.
This,
oh my gosh.
Them pulling out this show
Yeah.
means that they have all kinds of other shows, and I want to know how far back it goes, because if you're talking about off the soundboard, rough, raw, just like
straight
official bootleg,
straight out the soundboard,
original early Kiss is the way to go.
Yeah, well, yes,
I want to see.
I feel like they might just say, Alive can cover that well, because that is early Kiss.
Before Alive, though. I want to know what they have.
Man, they might have to really work on that audio, which is fine. We'll take whatever we can get.
But it's off the soundboard, so that you can almost get away with that.
Did they have a soundboard back? I mean, I'm not sure if they had that kind of setup back then.
I wasn't there. I have no idea.
I was going to say, but
I'm just saying that'd be really cool.
Right.
That and the Revenge lineup.
Right. Oh my.
Because there's some great Revenge soundboard audio that already exists.
That gets me onto the before listening to the show, it had just enough going for it for me to be interested. So I'm wondering, because this is a particularly undocumented era of the band, and that's why it works. Mm-hmm. The Revenge era, all that stuff is pretty well documented. So I'm wondering what they can pull from that will create the interest like they did on this release. Because to me, it had just...
Besides Eric Carr, I'm with you.
I was going to say, because, I think they can pull it off. They'll just, they'll have to figure it out. But I'm wondering what they're going to do, what they're going to pull from. Because if they could have gone after this, well, they already have the symphony. Mm-hmm. I guess they could do 2002, because that was also a weird point in the band. So, I mean, that would almost be redundant, though.
The current lineup, before the current lineup?
Yeah, because they went back to Peter Criss in 2003. There's a symphony. That's well documented. Yep. Anything after that is already really well documented. So 2001 was the perfect
they hit
era. That was the perfect of its time to pull from. But if you go before that, Psycho Circus, all that's well documented. So where can they go? I'm thinking maybe I would like to hear something on the Creatures tour, but it didn't turn out very well audience-wise, unless they're doing stuff from Europe, which is great.
Brazil.
If they release that, I wouldn't even be mad, because that's
Brazil.
Could you imagine the soundboard footage from that, though? Because the video that we have, I'm not sure if that where that audio is from, because the audio is really distorted. It's loud. It's again, a lot of reverberation. It's very muddled. Mm-hmm. But if they did something like that, Vinnie Vincent, the show with Mark St. John, and Bruce. I don't know if they have any of that stuff. But I'm saying they're going to need to pull from something like that if they're going to want to keep fans, because some Kiss fans are going to buy it regardless. It's new Kiss music. We're going to be listening to it regardless.
Yep.
But I'm wondering where they're going to go next. What can they pull from?
Yep.
So until then,
I'm gonna say, you guys let us know too. I'm thinking Eric Carr. I'm thinking Revenge. I want early Kiss.
Yes.
Leave some comments on what you guys think, not only about where you want them to go, but what you think about Off the Soundboard, the Tokyo show, as it is. Obviously, we've given it pretty much a really good review.
I think it's great.
I want to hear your guys' thoughts as well.
Yeah.
If everything goes as planned, on the next episode, we're going to have a special guest with us. We're going to have a friend of ours, Ryan, who is another younger Kiss fan. We want to have him on, somebody who's been with us to Kiss Expos, somebody who has also been a lifelong Kiss fan, been a Kiss fan for a long time. So we want to get a lot of different opinions on this show, a lot of different young people. Ryan will be our first guest. I expect a great conversation to come out of that. Definitely stick around to see what happens there. Of course, like and subscribe Xander Films here on YouTube.
Yes. Share this video on whatever you have.
Share it.
Facebook, Twitter. Please, I don't know. I don't have Facebook, so don't look for me on there.
Right, yeah. So you can find Kiss Army things on Facebook, on Instagram. Of course, we're here on YouTube. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Xander.
I'm Jed.
And this is Kiss Army Things.
Mm-hmm.